So now let's look at our slides. So now FJ presents itself as a top-notch food in a family-friendly environment. So that idea of pitching themselves as a family-friendly restaurant seems that's something that they've caught up on. So tick. Then what is the contents of this? Then there are 10 areas that this slide pack covers. Our business and operating model, I need to understand that. There are revenue streams, there are reach, stakeholders, shareholders, directors, the franchise restaurants, summarized information, financial information, trends, industry, and opportunities. So why am I reading it line by line? Because I want you to start thinking about, is there anything that you expected to see that you are not seeing? And did the examiners forget it? Or do they really believe that you don't need it? So stop, pause, think about it. Is there something that you expected to see that you are not seeing? So remember the purpose of this. So nothing in the APC is ever random. We have to agree on that. So I'm saying that I had expected to see risk and opportunities. Opportunities are there, but risks are not there. So I'm wondering, are the risks inherent in the information provided? Or is there an expectation for one to think about this? Okay? So that's what I'm wondering, because if it's going to be used as what? As for strategy planning, I want and I will have loved to see some of these things. Then anything else? So I know my people, they are there. I've got the financial capital, I've got the human capital under stakeholders. I'm thinking, I've got the social and risk reputation or relationship capital under stakeholders. So I'm thinking that a lot of things have been done here. Maybe I would have loved to better understand understand the industry, the competitors, and our performance vis-a-vis the competitors. I would have loved to understand that, because if we're going to be using these to do what? To do a risk analysis, one will want to say, oh, we need to know whether we are doing well or not doing well. So these are some of the things I expected to see. So in my structured research, maybe this is point number 3, the thing that I need to go and further explore. Okay? Because I'm thinking that they will not have just done this as the APC examiners. They would have wanted me to apply my mind to it. Then they start our business and operating model. FJ is a casual dining restaurant franchise group, which has one brand, namely Fooders. Okay? So relative to what? So relative to famous divisions, famous brands, which has what? Which has 4 divisions and several brands. I'm now realizing that what? This one has 1. What about the likes of what? Nando's? Nando's have got 1 brand. The likes of KFC, they've got 1 brand. The likes of Spare Corporation, from what I understand, they've got 1 brand. Or is it John Dory somewhere sitting there? But yeah, that's what I'm just starting with. And I'm thinking that, yeah, maybe famous brands might be too big. Yes, there could be lessons to take from them, but it might be too big. Then they say that the vast majority of the Fooders restaurants are franchised. The vast majority of the Fooders restaurants are franchised. What is vast? Is it more than 80, more than 90? Or better yet, why does it matter? Because for me, if you are a majority franchise, it means that the way you generate revenue is a little bit different to doing what? To you running the restaurants. So that's very important, because as a franchisor, you do what? You have revenue being the franchise fee that you charge to your franchised businesses. But as the main operator of restaurant, your revenue is actually the sales that you make. So when we unpack revenue, I will need to have gotten a very good understanding of this. And now I'm thinking that, okay, let me keep that thought. We do not believe in competing against our franchisees, who are vital partners in our ecosystem. FJ has occasionally acquired underperforming restaurants with the aim of turning this around and finding new franchisees to own and operate those. That sounds noble. Excuse me. But one will be wondering, what is the criteria for underperforming? Because this could work against them. It might sound noble, but because the risk have not been presented, I'm thinking about the risk. What is the criteria for underperformance? Because there could be reputational risk with taking a restaurant, or rather buying a restaurant, because someone will say, you are in a position to sabotage your franchisees. And if you sabotage them, they will underperform. And if they underperform, what will you do? You'll buy them and turn it around and sell it to someone at a higher price. That could be seen by some as you taking advantage. I mean, we've just seen a big lawsuit with some of the SPAR franchisees, SPAR as in SPAR, that have gone out and said that, no, SPAR Group is being unfair to us because, was it Pick and Pay or SPAR? I think it was SPAR or Pick and Pay. So you can check that out. And maybe that's why, for me, that's what triggered this business acumen consideration, to say that the criteria for underperformance and the reputational damage exist with this strategy of theirs, as noble as it may sound. So maybe I need to be mindful of it. Then they say Food's menu focus on burgers, chicken, steak, ribs, with plant-based protein options. We do not have any pasta, pizza, flame grilled chicken items on our menu. Too many options spoil the broth. Okay, great strategy, noted. Franchisees offer menu items and charge prices that are centrally set by Fodjan. So now I'm thinking that, are they now setting me up for what? For, is FJ an agent, or what is FJ an agent or a principal in the agreement, right? Because one, they charge the prices centrally, and then the franchisees, then that means they take that. And one of the criteria in agency versus principal is that there is a party that sets the price, and the party that sets the price is not an agent, but rather the principal in the agreement. Then we have seen the fact that they buy the restaurants that are underperforming. I could see the benefit in that, but what is the risk to them? Because for control to exist, there has to be risk and benefits. So now I'm really thinking carefully about this, that could this be setting me up for agency versus principal agency considerations? Keep it, check in with my team. FJ supports its franchisees in setting up new restaurants. How? They do feasibility study, they select the site, they do the setup, they do project management, and they even train the new staff. Brilliant. Then Let me just make this small, sure. Then they continue their business. All Fooders franchisees are required to install and operate a global point of sale software system procured from what? Global leading IT group. Okay, what is a POS system? When you go there and say that, they'll say, what do you want? And you said, I want a quarter chicken, click. I want a soft drink, Coke, click. No sugar, no sugar, so and so. So that thing that they're clicking, that's the point of sale software. It's developed by a global leading IT. So I'm thinking that I can see it. Locally, some of the biggest ones are from the likes of GAP, IID, Adapt IT, and so on. So I see it, but why do they require that each and every franchisee have this installed? Because one of the things with a franchise arrangement is that you have to compel your franchises to do this. Otherwise, they will sell and not log it in, and you will not be able to secure your franchise fee. Your franchise fee, you charge it on revenue, so you want a system that facilitate that. So it enables the registering of orders and sending this directly to the kitchen, checking on the status of orders without having to walk to the kitchen, modification of orders, remove or swap ingredients and add extra items, processing of payments, credit, debit cards, cash, mobile wallets, and data and analytics reporting. Data analytics and reporting. That's what these systems do. So I remember that Elijah had said to us what? He or she wants to make use or make more use of the data stored on the system. Waiters can use the tablets to place orders and check on the status of the orders using the POS system, where you're checking that, yes, my sleep, then they're like, number, you say 100, it's not ready, 2 minutes. So that is that system. So you can see that the system, most of it is to make sure that there's operational efficiency at the restaurant. But there is also what? The value for decision-making from the data analytics and reporting module. Fooders restaurants do not allow for reservations. Okay, so just rock up. FJ offers procurement services for a fee of cost to franchisees. So what does this cover? FJ negotiates prices and terms with key restaurant suppliers. This includes the ones for meat, veggies, and so on, to enable franchisees to purchase high-quality products at competitive prices. So it's like they're using the what? They're using their bargaining power against what? Against suppliers. How so? Let's just talk about that. So essentially, what is happening is that we are now recognizing that, oh, we as Fodjan, we have how many? So many restaurants, and we're able to go to the likes of, say, a farm and say, now we'll then be buying on a weekly basis so much, can we not get a discount? So we are clearly seeing the bargaining power of FJ against suppliers. So then they say that, right, they then say franchises pay the suppliers directly. So it's like we're just the middleman. We go and we then say that, what do you have? So, what do you have? Then they say that we have veggies and so on. Then we say we've got an order for 10,000. 5,000 is going here, this 2,000 is going there, 3,000 is going there, and so on. And because you know how much you're ordering, then you pay directly to the suppliers. So we see that mechanism. So we are saying that, okay, so far so good, just helping us to understand the business. FJ has its own range of sauces and seasonings, the manufacturing of which is outsourced to third-party manufacturers. FJ also procures packaging supplies for food restaurants to ensure consistency at each restaurant. They are required to purchase the sauces, seasonings, and packaging from FJ. So it's like going to KFC and you know it's going to be common, the brown bag and the red and white. So that's the classic. We want to ensure consistency. Sauce and seasoning products are available for purchase at fooders restaurants and selected grocery retailer for customers or patrons. So we are understanding this business better. So we are understanding what this Fodjan does. So they help the restaurant set up, they can offer procurement services, and also they provide these sauces and spices, seasonings for the restaurant. So we understand what is their performance obligation, or rather the promises, because we've not tested the performance obligations. Fooders customers can, in addition to sitting down, place orders for delivery or for collection. The latter is referred to as click and collect. FJ has a relationship with both Mr. D and Uber Eats with regards to delivery options. Individual app fooders restaurants need to load their details on the Mr. D and Uber Eats platforms or app and pay a negotiation commission of the food order value to Mr. D or Uber Eats. The delivery platforms collect payments directly from what? From customers and pay over the amount less commission to the restaurants. Because this now presents a very interesting case. So in our model of charging revenue, does it matter that when we make these arrangements with the likes of Uber, we are never going to see the entire revenue come in and we have to pay the commissions and so on? It comes in as a net. Does that mean that revenue is based on the net or revenue is based on the gross? I wonder. Consider whether the commission is based on net or gross revenue for online orders with partners. FJ develops meaningful relationship with fooders, restaurants, and visits them at least once a month to provide operational support and share skills and know-how. Franchise agreements are 5 years in duration, renewable or terminable at the option of either party at the end of the 5 years. So we are better understanding the business. That's the purpose. So far, nothing much to take. Just you are telling me and I'm listening. It's facts. Then the revenue streams. So we know what they do. So when they now talk to us about revenue, we should not be surprised. So Fodjan charges an upfront 100,000 fee for 2 new franchisees. No further joining fees are applicable if the franchise agreement is extended for a further 5 years and any subsequent periods. Fair enough, because that's for undertaking the setup of activities. So I won't lie, I was smelling revenue. Don't you think so? It smells like revenue, this thing. FJ charges franchise fees, a monthly franchise fee of 5%. During COVID, this was decreased to 4%. In addition, they charge franchisees a monthly marketing fee of 3%. That's add up to 8%. Payable monthly in arrears. In terms of the franchise agreements, FJ is the custodian of these funds and is contractually obliged to spend these funds on advertising and marketing for the benefit of all franchisees to promote the brand. Marketing activities include TV and digital advertising. FJ charges franchisees a 2% procurement fee based on the value of goods and services that franchisees spend ordering via the procurement portal. So in total, there is a maximum of 10%. Sounds a little bit steep. How does it compare to others? I wonder. So consider it. So consider how it compares with what? Considers how it compares with other competitors in the industry. Why? Because I want to check reasonability there. Because if they are struggling, I'll want, or they are losing franchisees, or the franchisees are struggling to make ends meet. I mean, you are taking 10% of the revenue. Is that fair? That might be what I want to ask. Our reach. There are currently 96 franchisee restaurants opening and trading throughout Africa. So does this mean that this company only has franchise restaurants? Because they didn't say anything about owned. So I saw the statement that we don't compete with our franchisees, but does it mean no compete at all? Excuse me. FJ recently purchased 100% of the equity of Big Ranch, which is a franchisee with 5 Fodjan restaurants. These restaurants ran into financial difficulty during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Instead of letting these restaurants close, FJ purchased this because of the strategic locations of the restaurants. They intend to turn this into turn around the profitability, and at a later stage to sell them to new franchisees. Okay. So there is this Big Ranch. It is a franchisee by virtue of having 5 Fodjan restaurants. So we are essentially buying a company for which we previously had a relationship with. Given that we know that APC2023 specifically deals with this, how so? APC2023 says that there is a what? There is a settlement of a pre-existing relationship. And what? And a reacquired right. So you will see that in the reflection pack, I have went to our old archives and pulled a video that dealt with what? That dealt with pre-existing relationship and reacquired rights, because this is no longer part of your syllabus. So a very, very old video. So I hope that it does help in terms of better unpacking for you these reacquired right thoughts. Fodjan restaurants are typically located in smaller suburban shopping centers in major cities and towns. Fodjan restaurants are also located in standalone properties in suitable what? Suburbs. They discourage franchisees from operating restaurants in larger shopping malls because of high rental costs. Fodjan restaurants are targeted to serve middle to upper income families with patrons. Families and patrons. So I've got a better understanding of this business now. So I've got a better understanding. So let me just also consider what? APC 15. Consider the performance obligations. I spoke about that. So yeah, because they are several services, I wonder if they are doing the accounting properly. Then we move to the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Just a list. Obviously, franchisees will expect them to be, our stakeholders, shareholders, our customers, banks, community, suppliers. No one here, it's surprising to me. So who should I be worried about? No one stands out. Everyone that is here as the stakeholder, I expected them to be here. Shareholders, I need to look closely. So there is this Hambre Family Trust, that's majority. Then there's NAFC, also sizable, RAC 20, and Employee Trust 15. So now what I'm interested in, or what I'm picking up, is that no one unilaterally owns this company unless there's some relationship between the top two shareholders or first and third shareholder. So let's see. Philip Hambre started AFJ in 1992 and set up the Hambre Family Trust to own 100% of the shares in issue of the company. The trust shareholding reduced over the years as new shareholders were introduced. Philip retired in 2017, but remains a non-executive director of Fodjan. Okay, so I'm listening and I'm considering this carefully. So Philip, founder, trust used to be alone, and now they have what? Now they have reduced to being just a majority shareholder. Philip himself is still what? Is still a director, but a non-executive director in the company. Then the shareholders continued. NAFC. This is a lending institution that specializes in financing franchises, particularly those in casual dining and fast food industries. NAFC has developed a proprietary database covering these industries and tracks the success and failures of these restaurants. NAFC is the preferred finance partner in lending to franchisees. Then RAC, it's a woman-led BEE investment group funded by a major South African financial services group. So I've now learned more about the shareholders. I have a better understanding who they are. What are some of the key takeaways? I love the fact that as a financial institution, they've got a vested interest because they are a shareholder in the company. So I can see how then that overcomes the gap or the challenge of funding. Because I'm thinking that also from a competitive perspective, to the extent that it's allowed, that they will prioritize NAFC's application to ensure the success of the business. The directors, Kaleho, who is the non-executive and the chairperson, Philip, non-executive, Bosch, non-executive, Danisa, non-executive, Eli, non-executive, Hajra, CEO, and Elijah, CFO. So remember that in the introductory email, we didn't know who is who, but now we know this very well. The directors now. So we explore the directors a little bit more. Katlego, interestingly, Katlego is an executive director of RAC, which is one of the shareholders. So Katlego is a chairperson of the board, and he is an executive director in RAC, which is this woman-led investment group. Then Bosch is the CEO of NAFC. Danisa is a professor at a leading South African university. Ellie is Philip's daughter. This board. So I'm sure for the governance people, this board, it's lit. Like, yeah, it's quite, yeah, it's quite, there's quite a lot or a bit happening rather. So, okay, so let's read further. The board of directors of FJ is of the opinion that full compliance with King 4 is not always in the best interest of FJ. Ha, I knew it. For example, the board believes that the person with intimate knowledge of the casual dining industry are far more valuable as non-execs than persons who are appointed purely because they are what? They are independent. But makes sense. Yeah, so makes sense. So, oh no, they're defending their thing. Oh wow, I fell into it. But anyways, then number 7, Food's franchise restaurants. So we were told that they are 96. So now let's reconcile how they got to 96. Firstly, I see that when the 2020 year started, they had 104. That was before COVID. So then after COVID, they have 96. So it seems that during COVID, they lost about 18, but they gained 10 new in the current financial year. So what made those to close down? Is it the lockdown or other factors? So let's hear. Unfortunately, numerous franchisees were not able to trade profitably during COVID-19 and had to close their businesses. Okay. FJ was very pleased with 10 new franchise restaurants opening up in what? In 2022. I can see there's currently a strong pipeline of application for new franchise, and Fodjan expects further aid. So what could I then be thinking about here? So there is some new ones expected to what? To come through. And furthermore, these ones are clearly because of COVID. So for me, the message is that this is still a strong group. There are not too many red flags. The fact that they've lost 18 out of 104, for me, that's not so bad. And it seems that one could understand that what? One could understand that the ones that closed, what is encouraging is that they didn't all close in the same year. There are some that closed in 2020 and some closing in 2021. So a bit of resilience there. So very interesting. And maybe what also helped is the company strategy, which is to buy back the restaurants, turn them around, and sell them. So that might have helped to keep the group to be a resilient one. That instead of closing down, they bought some. So now we are in context. Do you see how we develop the context? So now we are talking about what they told us, and we are seeing the benefit of that. If we had not seen it, or maybe you're now going there and you are reading that the other competitors lost quite a lot. So now we are saying that, where is that statement? Or the reputational risk, but also could be an opportunity, as there will be limited number of closure. Because of what? Because of the strategy. Context. Let's not lose it. Then where am I? Then summarized financial information. Remember, I'm the FM. I want to understand how big this company is. So in 2022, it generated revenues of 51 million. Brilliant. Last year, it was 36. So this COVID-19 recovery has been quite a strong one. Marketing fund contributions, sales of sauces and seasonings, procurement fees, and joining fees. So now this is very interesting. So now let's just unpack this. So they've got 320,000 in joining fees. But I would have expected that if it's 10, I thought the joining fee was 100, right? Was it not? Let me just go. They charge an upfront 100,000 joining fee. So now, if you then join 10 joined, why is it not R1 million? Indeed, why is it not R1 million? And now, based on revenue, I'm starting to understand that when they said to me that the vast majority of the restaurants are franchised, for me, it sounds like all of them are franchised. Or am I missing something? Because I come to revenue and I'm saying that, hold on, franchise fees, all right? I'm thinking that 4 to 5%. And now when I'm there, I'm also thinking about this. So I might want to understand how much did this company grow by? Maybe they said during COVID. So the question is 2022 during COVID? So is 2022 during a COVID period? Did they say that? Because if it's not, then we could then be saying that, revenue, it's 36,054 divided by 4%. That will give me the revenue that they have, so that I want to compare it with 50,1036. So I want to know, or just to start to have a view of whether this increase, is it as a result of increased revenue or just the rate normalizing back? So they might reveal this information later to me if it's relevant. Because here, when I do my math on my calculator, it is saying that the restaurants made about 901 million. And this year, the restaurants will have then made 51036 divided by 0.5, then 102 billion. So this is what we are getting, if that is indeed the case. So you will see that there is what? If that's the case, there's an increase of 100 million new revenues, which is not bad, but I'll consider that you added 10 more stores. So these 10 more stores, I don't know when they came in, but one will have then expected, that this is not significant because they were already 80 something in the system and 10 more joined. But I'm just doing a bit of a feel of how this company has been doing. Then, so I want to delete this comment, delete it. Then they said marketing fund contributions. So the marketing fund contribution, to remind myself, that's about what? I think it's 3%. Let me just double check. Marketing fund contributions, that is 3%, right? And the procurement fee is 2%. So then that is that. So that's 3%. Then that is 29. And the procurement services, that's 4.7. So not too much there. And the joining fee is 320. But I could then stop here and I said that my expectation of R1 million, could it be that it's not recognized all of it in the year that we have what? That we have entered into. What are we saying? We are saying that the revenue for the joining fee, is it recognized immediately or later on? So I had this IFRS 15 vibes. So I was hoping to see an IFRS 15 scenario, and I would have been excited about it. But at this point, I wonder, because, and not to dwell on it, because I thought they were delivering a service, work, setting up, and so on. So their entire R1 million needed to be there. So that would have bothered me going into this assessment. It's 1 million though. Probably I will have let it go, but it now just makes me question this. So then the other thing that I'll want to also check is just the consistency in the fact that if this is 5, if I multiply the 1 point something billion, what is it? 1.02 billion by 3%, that's about 30. So now that's giving me a warm, fuzzy feeling of what they've done, because this is what I'm saying, that the marketing fund contributions, it is what? 3% times 1.02 billion. So if I open my calculator times 3%, it's about 0.6 million, right? Yeah. I smile. I am happy. They are reconciling this number. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Okay. So all good. So you can then test the other numbers. But do you see what I'm doing? What I'm doing is I want to have comfort of the scenario. So I'm reading everything in detail. I'm doing some simple calculation, nothing too hectic. But I want to understand whether what I'm seeing, it's really now getting to be embedded in my mind, and I'm storing it so that I don't become a time waster and type everything down, write everything down, and I have to read it. I want to think about this on a daily basis. Anything that I have missed today, I will probably pick it up tomorrow morning when I read it afresh again. And I'll read it again on a Sunday. I'll read it again on a Monday. And by come Tuesday, I will know back at it, like inside out. Inside out. Then I've got total revenues. Cost of sales, very low, right? Then administration expense, increase, nothing to worry about. Then marketing expense, now this stood out. Do you see this? Because I'm looking at cost of sales and I'm saying that it's from 20.8 to 22.5. So about 10% or so. Yeah, it's high, but I can live with it. Then administration expense, 30.7 to 32.8. I can also live with it. Marketing expense, 20.2 to 30.5. That is something. So I do what? I raise a red flag. How do you raise a red flag again with Apple? There we go, red flag. So I want to raise a red flag. So I raise a red flag on what? On marketing expenses. Nothing else is worrying me. It is this red flag right here that I need to deal with. Why? Because let's just calculate the increase so that you understand where I'm coming from. It's 30.5 million divided by what? 20.3 million. Okay? So 30.5 million divided by 20.3. That is a 50% increase. Sure. What happened? What happened? I need answers to this. Impairments, I will have expected some impairments in 2021. Now there isn't, fair enough. Then they told me about the depreciation, which is included where? So they have a star, so that operating profit, depreciation on the plant, they told it has been, and depreciation on the right of use have been taken into consideration in determining this amount. Okay? Why are you fleshing out depreciation? I wonder. Why do you flesh out depreciation expense? Remember, I don't believe anything is random here. Like, why did you not flesh out this marketing that is jumping? Why did you flesh out depreciation? What is the nature of depreciation? I know that depreciation is non-cash, but so what? I note it. Then I proceed. Operating profit before interest. Interest income, okay, last year it was a bit more, then it declined. I expected it to be more this year because the performance of the business improved this year, unless because the prospects were not so well, they were holding on cash, and now they've invested some of that cash. But in what? Finance cost on lease liabilities, they've gone up. I wonder why. Current taxation from 5.2 to 8.3. You made more profit, fair enough. Deferred tax now went down. Profit after tax, noted. Then I see what? I see the PEEP non-current assets. 26 to 56, there's a big jump. There is a big jump. So let me go into the detail. PPE, 10.5 to 9.8. Can live with that. Right of use assets, 7.6 to 22.6. What happened? What am I missing? What are we leasing? What are we leasing? So I am thinking that to myself, what is it that we are leasing? Why did the right of use jump up significantly? What is FJ leasing that resulted in what? In increase in what? In right of use assets. Okay, let me just see the depreciation. Last year it was only 3.8 and now it's 8.5. So there's been. So I'm wondering, I need this to be answered by someone. Excuse me. Because I thought even if there are new restaurants, still there will be the restaurants of the franchisee, not necessarily mine. Loan receivable, 6.5 to 7 million. Investment in Big Ranch. Remember, we acquired Big Ranch earlier on, 14.5. And the deferred tax, I see it. So I will need to just do a cross-casting and just making sure the numbers I saw up there, they're reconciling back down here. Okay. Then that loan, they are talking about it. They say loans receivable represent advances to FJ, by FJ to franchisees. These loans are generally short-term in nature and lasting only until the franchisees raise finance to open new restaurants. However, due to COVID-19, many franchises have been struggling to raise finance, and Fodjan's loan terms were extended. I still don't quite understand how they are working these loans. So these loans are generally short-term in nature, tick, lasting only until franchises raise finance to open new restaurants. Okay, so did they increase in value? So from 6.5 to 7 million. So the question is, are they impaired though? Then they say Fodjan acquired 100% of Big Ranch with effect from 1 July 2022. Remember, the year end of this company is October. Fodjan has not yet processed any pro forma journal entries with regards to this acquisition. The cash amount paid for the acquisition is reflected as an investment. So now they are saying that 14.5 million is the cash investment. But now I am sitting here and I'm saying that, all right, are there no other forms of consideration? Because you don't just put cash. And I don't think that the examiners in the APC said cash without an intention. So you can clearly see the trust relationships that I have with them. I respect them, but I don't trust them. So they are telling me that there's been a cash investment, or the cash consideration is represented in the AFS. But what about the other consideration? Or tell me more. Tell me it doesn't exist as part of exercising my critical thinking. Then we've got what? We've got restricted cash, represents surplus cash in the marketing funds. Oh, restricted cash represents surplus cash in the marketing funds. That is marketing fund contribution not yet spent. Fodjan only spent this cash on advertising and market-related activities. Again with this. Okay, so this is very interesting. So cash and cash equivalents, I see that it's quite a big balance, and I see it has decreased significantly. Then I also understand that, okay, therefore this is why the decline in interest income made sense. But I'll also want to understand that all the interest income that I've got here, is it really relating to what? Is it really relating to the cash and cash equivalents, or the sum that is on restricted cash? Because it can be argued that if the cash is restricted, then the interest need to form part of the restricted cash. Has that been considered? And given the increase in the marketing expenditure this year, I would have then expected the movement to be a little bit higher, but let's just go there. So let's just compare the marketing expenditure and the marketing fund. But I don't know whether all of the marketing expense relates to the activities for supporting the brand as per the terms of the marketing fund contribution. So the marketing fund contribution, I see it was 22 and then 30. Then they spent 20.2 when 22 was collected. Then they spent 30.5 when 30.6 was collected. So if indeed this is related to that, so let me just do my quick calc. So 30,621 minus 34,684. So there was about expenditure. Like it's always interesting when you see all these things. Okay. So there was, let's just unpack this. So the marketing fund, we had 30,621, and the marketing expenditure, we had 34,688. So the movement was 153. Then the restricted cash, what did we have? We had 4157 minus 4003. So how much is that? So 4157 minus 4003. Okay, 154. Okay, so I'm going to assume that the difference is rounding. But now I can see what made this cash to move. But they're telling me that they received 30.6 and they spent 30.5. All right, I note. Cash restricted, 29 and now 12. They are burning cash. So firstly, the right-of-use assets increased. Cash decreased significantly, more than halved. and restricted cash, they spent almost. So they are burning cash. Why though? Then they go further. I see ordinary share capital, nothing changed. Retained income, hold on. Retained income, 53. And now 53. So about 200,000. But I thought they made more profits than this. Let's see. So they made profits of 20 million. This is profit after tax. So I would have expected retained income to be 70 million. So what happened? Then I'm going to note that, right? So I'm going to note that retained income increased only marginally. Now, this is starting to probably make a little bit better sense. So that means there were dividends of about 20 million. Could that be that? Because this only increased by just a mere 200,000. And the cash, on the other hand, was 29, and now it's 12. Could this explain the cash movement? Could this explain the cash movement? Then I go and I also read that contract liability, that the joining fee has been deferred over the franchise agreements. Oh, no wonder I was not seeing the R1,000,000. But so this is not necessarily a joining fee. This is not a setup fee, it's rather a joining fee. So it's like a gym joining fee. Okay. Now I can sleep better at night. The lease liabilities, 5.9 million, 4.9 million, and now 16. This supports the right of use, but I still don't know why there was such an increase. Then taxation payable, these payable, contract liabilities, lease liabilities, nothing to write home about. I leave it. Then trends in the industry. There's been an increase in consumption of chicken in the restaurants and fast food industries. More interesting. Is it not because it's cheap? Traditional meal times are blurring. Customers no longer strictly adhere to meal times like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they tend to eat whenever it suits them during the day. Lucky them. Okay? I see these trends, but I think now does it present a risk or an opportunity? Social media have become all-powerful as consumers share their good and bad experiences at what? As restaurants. Okay, do we need to do something about that? Do we need to spend more marketing funds in that social media platform? Many customers are seeking plant-based meals as they seek to minimize environmental impact and eat healthier meals. Load shedding is adversely impacting on sit-down meals as customers prefer to order in when there are power outages. Food inflation is increasing as the prices of cooking oil, grain, petrol escalate due to Russia, Ukraine, and global inflationary pressures. Increasing competition from ghost kitchen. So they have given us the trends in the industry. Do this make us have that warm, fuzzy feeling about FJ, or do they make us worry about it? I had previously mentioned that there were risks that when there was no slide on risk management. But now I'm starting to pick up some of the challenges that we had spoken about as the risk facing the company. They are outlined under trends. So load shedding is one of them, food inflation, increasing competition, and what? And social media is more of a threat. It's more of a threat. It can threaten, but in itself, it's threat because of the fact that someone could just be unhappy and go there and things get blown out of proportion. So that's something that we might want to observe and be keeping track of this. Then the opportunities. Now, I'm in strategy mode now. Fodjan is exploring launching its own ghost kitchen brands in the following food categories: sushi, Greek foods, or Mexican food. And I've only used a ghost kitchen for for African food. So I've not tried this. So in my mind, when I saw this, I was like, will it work? But I'm operating from my own bounded rationality. So it will be good to get more research around this to say that where are the hot spots for these hot kitchens, and whether the plans of the company are aligned to some of the trends there, because they didn't tell us in terms of the trends where they are seeing ghost kitchen flourishing. How did they get to choose any of these three? And is the plan to do any of them? And given that they are burning cash, do they have even the cash to invest in any of this proposal? Number two, they are also working with selected franchises to introduce drive-through facilities at their restaurants, given the popularity of click and collect. That makes sense. I've seen a lot of restaurants also doing this. So this is something to look into. But is this a mutually exclusive kind of decision-making, or are they looking to do both? And in themselves, are these triggers? Are these triggers? So in other words, do I have to go and evaluate how drive-through facilities work? So it might be somewhat of a good idea, but I'll rather say wait until a strong technical trigger comes through, where they then said that you saw all those plans I was talking about in the welcome slides. We are now looking to pursue a drive-through. This will require, it will require that we appoint a consultant that will then advise and maybe present us with their findings, and could trigger potentially an evaluation or decision-making question or task. Then lastly, they're introducing a loyalty program where customers are issued with a loyalty card free of charge and can earn loyalty points based on their purchases. It is proposed that these loyalty points could be redeemed as discount against future purchases. There will be no cashback options. So with this one, I'm thinking, what will it require to launch a loyalty program? So what are then the implications of the business? And will we charge more to the franchisees? Will this enhance our reputation? Or is this part of what Elijah said to me earlier on when he or she was talking about what? She was talking about using more data that we collect. Because we have seen the likes of Pick and Pay, the likes of ShopRite, Checkers Group, talk about the impact that this loyalty program have had on the ability to really deliver value to customers. So for me, these are some of the strategic considerations to start thinking about. But again, I'm going to wait until this is a technical trigger, especially now the level of detail that they've used in what? The level of detail that they've used in this loyalty program outline. It also makes me to be mindful that there could be an accounting piece or an accounting element. So I am mindful of that as well. So I take that into consideration. And we are essentially done with document number 1. So it was quite a big read. It's at the end, but I'll have said that, yeah, do it and then put it and podcast it and then start working through it. But such a interesting advice coming at the end, right? You should be saying, but then you should have told me earlier. But anyways, hope that this was helpful, and we have the same understanding of FJ as we unpack the rest of the technical triggers. Thank you so much and take care.